Welcome back. So here's Garth Tander leaving pit lane right in the middle of peak hour. And then all of a sudden there's a bottleneck extraordinaire. Before you know it, Paul Dumbrell gets a whack from behind. And that's why we had a safety car.
He was the innocent victim there, Matt, for sure. He was basically just doing the right thing. And the bottleneck definitely was caused. It was a good pick up there with the guys grabbing Tander. Restart again. Finally, here we go. We can have a car alongside each other, but he's being lapped.
The other thing that's interesting to contemplate here is which guys have put on 2 tyres and whether they put them on the rear or down the working side, which is the left side of the car, and which guys chose to spend a little bit longer in the pit lane and put on 4 tyres. I'm going to try and unravel some of that for you as well.
That was Team Inter Racing's Marcus Marshall that you saw, the bright red car, car 77, in the middle of all that.
Yeah, Neil, clearly the majority of guys were whacking 4 tyres on the cars. What's really interesting, I've been having a ball with this thermal gun down here. I can tell you the temperature of absolutely everything. But looking across some of the cars, generally we're seeing 100 degrees centigrade on the left rear tyre. Now, that's working very, very hard. What's more interesting than that, the slower the cars are going, i.e. cars further down the pack, are generally about 10 degrees hotter. So that tells you when a car is balanced and working well, it's sharing its load across the tyres. A couple of other little niceties. One, it's really nice working down here in pit lane with the ethanol. The fumes are great. Molasses, love it. And the other thing is Alex Davo, his daughter, born this weekend. Well, my daughter, my second beautiful daughter, was born when I was here racing some years ago. So her second name is Adelaide as a result. So see what we can come up with there. Isn't that nice? Sweet.
Lucko, have you got anything else for us?
I'm all emotional down here, man. Leave me alone.
Go and give yourself a hug.
Clearly the E85 fumes are good for him, but maybe some of the stuff that happened earlier hasn't been.
He does have the cleanest race in pit lane, though.
He is. He's pristine, isn't he? Will Davison's come out of this pretty well, Neil. He's popped up into 7th spot. And out of, you know, what was originally not great car speed, out of all the pit stop kerfuffle and popping out reasonably cleanly, not involved in too much drama, he's climbed to a very respectable 7th.
You've got to dip your hat to Lee Holdsworth here as well in 3rd place at the moment. This is a very strong run.
And it's an interesting one with Will, isn't it? 26 years of age as he takes a dive down the inside on Shane van Gisbergen at turn 9. He'll hold it by 10. You know, he's not just changing teams here. He's changing mates. He's stepping into your seat. There's a lot that goes before you when you jump into a Holden Racing Team car at that age. A lot of expectations as well. But he will have taken the confidence out of 2008, where he finished 5th in the championship, 2 race wins, and a round win at Eastern Creek. Here's Courtney.
Why would he be back in? Like, we need to find out why he needed to come back in. There's some drama there with the driver mesh or the right driver window.
There's been a couple of moments of contact for James in the race, but remember he also gave that wall erupt down there on the exit of turn 8 earlier in the day.
Mate, pretty simple one. This one you spoke about driving cooling suits not working. James is simply hot, so they got it in and just ripped the windows out.
Air conditioning. I was about to say that. Manual air conditioning has done it. Now here comes Garth versus Lee Holdsworth. And Tander holds on, so Garth gets position 3.
And he just made sure quite shrewdly that there was no way for Lee to respond at the exit of the corner. He just kept easing him over. Once you make the move, you've got to make it stick and then not let the guy off the hook.
So 2 things have happened here is they've made an adjustment to the car. They put some other tyres on. You can see on the Zinger replay up the inside quite late. Lee turns in on him. Not much ground. And Garth just pushes him a little wide up over the curb and hurts Lee's exit, which then makes that position stick. It looks like the car's a bit sharper, but it also could be the difference in a tyre set, Crompo. Sometimes there's some difference between one set and another, and the car is definitely better now.
And the shrewd drivers who know their cars well and have done this for long enough know to tell their crews before they come in to repressure the incoming tyre set. Maybe put a pound in, take a pound out. Sometimes you're talking about even half pounds can make the difference. And even as the conditions change during the day, that can be an issue. On the subject of tyres, Ford Performance Racing, I understand, were the only ones of the key group
Yes, Neil.
It's all anticipation here, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I was just waiting for the turn 8 speed shot to be done. The only ones that popped on rear tyres and didn't do all four. So Winterbottom, and who's this running off? Is that Tim Slade? So he's got a bit of smoke here, so there's been some other drama.
Is he going to keep going with it, or is he going to pull off onto the side? Check out another single replay. This will explain what happens to the new man in its super cheap auto. Ride him, Cowboy.
That's broken the right-hand front shock when he's come off the back of that second curb. And the bottom of the shock absorber base has been broken there, and you can see the wheel just wobbling up and down.
Scafey, it's like, I just wanted to ask you a question, mate. I haven't driven one of these cars with the Tiga inlet duct, if you like, that you can see on the cars in the centre of the roof there. I mean, that is a big, big call for Courtney to come in to take his windows out. Extra pit stop. I mean, is there enough airflow that comes in there, or should perhaps James put his dancing shoes back on?
Good point. Like, that actually does work quite well, the Tiga duct, and apparently Roland Dane was saying to me the other day on the FG Falcon it works better again than the old model BF. I would have said for sure that you say to the driver under that scenario, you work it out. You've got to get through days, and although it might be hot, get your head down and make sure you finish this race.
Remember, we split up the championship this season into 26 races over 14 events. So every single race counts. Got its own podium. You become a race winner for every race throughout the course of 2009. And Jamie Whincup will know a couple of things. First of all, he came here last year and blitzed it. So he knows how to win around here. It was a clean sweep all the way. The other thing
remember, have a drink, mate. Doing a great job.
That he knows is Craig Lowndes, that man there, is a Saturday specialist. He's won 4 races at this event over the years, all 4 on Saturday. And times for those guys just gone past, 123.79 for Jamie, 123.78 for Craig. So there's one more thing that Jamie knows. Craig's coming to get him.
Well, you just know that any time that you race Lowndes around here, you're in for a race. And as you pointed out, there was only 1/100th of a second there between the two Vodafone cars, but only 300ths of a second slower to Garth Tander, who did a 23.81. So definitely Tander's car's stronger. Now, the only reason that Garth got Lee Holdsworth, Neil, was Lee made a little mistake at the last corner. He locked the right-hand front wheel and ran wide as Tim Slade parks the super cheap Commodore. There's clearly, as I said, some drama on the right-hand side front on that car.
Now, in the stop process, they've smartened Craig's car up as well, so maybe repressured the incoming tyre set. Maybe it was a roll set of change, but he's racier now in this segment of the race than he was early on. He's trading punches more readily with Jamie.
Remember, Jamie came in lap 37, fuel and tyres. Craig Lowndes came in lap 42, fuel and tyres. Garth Tander in between them, lap 41. So not too much difference.
It's a younger tyre set.
I'm interested, Crompo, why would Craig want to follow so close at this time of the race? I mean, you're better off to be 3 or 4 car lengths back, have some cool air, not get involved in a battle between the two lead cars.
Run you through the field here. That was the top 10 just gone past. Jason Richards 11th, then Cam McConville, Stephen Richards, Rick Kelly, Fabian Coulthard, the bright green car, Jason Bright, Barguana, then Paul Dumbrell. There's Alex Davison, position 19.
Just expanding on that question of Mark's, the problem with being there, and that's why Craig's ducking out at the moment, is when you're under the back of the preceding car, the massive heat signature behind the leading car. So, and that's going straight into the brake ducts. It's going straight into the engine intake. It pumps up all the numbers, and it also makes it difficult to pick your braking reference and also your turn-in point. In fact, that's if you're the team owner / manager, you kind of hold your breath like MS just did in the commentary box then when two team cars are so close together. So what Mark's suggesting is if you just ease that margin a little bit, you hold your position, but you take a bit of the stress out all around. And if you could get Larko out there with that gun, you'd see how much extra temperature there was up the front of the 888 car. Might be a bit scary for the old boy, though.
Guys, young Tim Slade back in the garage now. He's out of the car for the moment, but they're going to replace his shock and put him back out so he can clock up 11 laps and be classed as a finisher of the race today.
Tim 7th in the Fujitsu Series last season, steps up, as I mentioned earlier, to replace Paul Morris at Super Cheap Auto. So it's an interesting mix there, isn't it, at Super Cheap with Russell Ingall, now well and truly the most experienced man in the field.
He's done a good job over the weekend, Matt. I mean, he qualified quite well. He was only about 0.3 of a second slower than Ingall in qualifying. And through the course of this year, hanging around a guy like Russell, he will learn a lot. So it's a year that he's really got to get his head down, make sure he takes some notice of what's going on. And so far this weekend has performed very, very well.
Another little bit of interesting analysis here is that Tander's matching these blokes in sector splits at the moment. His first sector split then was near enough to the same as the lead two, and same in the second sector. So because of the changes they've made to the HRT car, it's now definitely a stronger... Car 77, I think, is getting another pit lane penalty plus 10 seconds this time.
He's had a few today.
So Marcus Marshall back in the pit lane very shortly. So if something happens, there's either some traffic or perhaps there's another safety car intervention, and Tander's able to run away with these guys, he might be in a stronger position to actually race them.
Well, that's the way the strategy of this race always ends up. You have to have a situation where you can sprint at the end.
Scafie, another trivia question for you, and for you at home as well. 5 current drivers have started every Clipsal 500. Remember, we started here in 1990. 5 current drivers.
Am I answering now, or would you like me to put the graphic up first with the answer?
Is this an open...
Oh, here we go. Gisbergen into the side of Winterbottom. He wasn't up far enough by the look of it to begin with. We'll just have to have a look.
Now, they were disputing 6th and 7th, and that's taken the front end.
Oh, almost in front of his teammate. That was ugly. Oh, here we go.
Well, Mark's in a hurry along to get back into this race. Don't know if he knows just how bad the damage is to the front of the Orcon Steel Falcon, because it's really loose.
Phil Key, the engineer for this car, is calling for the slide hammer and all the gear on the pit lane ready. Here it is again in replay. Watch Van Gisbergen.
No.
And not far enough up the inside at the critical point at turn 4. And that's bitten the front left corner of Van Gisbergen's car as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see steering damage on that car.
And the whole thing about an overtaking move like that, Croppo, is you've got to have track position. You've got to command the track position to make sure your car is effectively alongside. And because that is a passing spot, you have to be aggressive about it, but you've got to slow the car down to make it stick. And it wasn't up far enough. I mean, that was an unnecessary drama.
He's kept running. Oh, that's why I hesitated, because I wasn't sure of myself then. That's why I stopped and thought about it. But,
he's got to come in.
It'll be a dog to drive at the moment.
He'll have no front downforce. Absolutely all the aero gone, all the floor knocked out of it. Be an understeering monster.
And we need to keep an eye on the Van Gisbergen car as well. I'm not sure. The category technical director this year is Campbell Little, and he's just asked his guys to keep a close eye on it, because if they feel that anything can part company with that car, then they'll bring it in and force them to patch it up.
I can only assume they've left him out for another lap. They're still juggling tyres down here, sorting that out, because I guess they're now going to try and get some value out of putting that car through the pit lane.
That's where this race is won and lost, Larko. You know, you need to think on your feet with those ones, and sometimes the reaction to get that car back in and not have another poor lap is very important, to get it repaired and get it back out there.
Yeah, I think that was a good call.
23 to go, mate. 23 to go.
I think Wingcup's actually holding Lowndes up a little bit at the moment, and Lowndes looks like the strongest in this sort of second segment of the race.
Only about 3/100ths of a second in that last lap between those two guys out at front there. Stephen Johnson, car 17, position 6.
those two guys put half a second on Garth Tander on that lap. Now let's just have a look at this car, because this was the other vehicle involved in the incident. Looks like Shane's got away with that. There's very little visible damage on the SP Tools entry.
And he's raced so far. We were just complimenting him on being very patient and driving the car very well. And a little mistake like that is a drama.
All this is played nicely as Winterbottom is now in, that FPR are ready for him. Played nicely for Will Davison, who's up into 5th. Now, there's no fuel going in this car, even though he stopped on
38.
Lap 38. So they're obviously confident to get it home from that point.
Todd Kelly, a really good job from 24th to 8th. He's right behind Gisbergen there now.
Dean Fiore gets out of the way.
Probably wouldn't be a surprise if Van Gisbergen's at a minimum got a little bit of steering geometry damage. So here we go. You're back into trivia land. I reckon I can easily think of 3 of them.
Okay, well, it's got to be Murphy, Engel, Bright, Lowndes,
Richards,
and Richards.
You got 4 out of 5.
There. How did we go?
You missed Garth Tander, and you said Jason Bright instead of Garth Tander. So Garth, Richo, Russell Ingall, Greg Murphy, Craig Lowndes made every starting grid. Jason Bright, remember, got pole here in '99. Didn't race in 2000 because he was off racing Indy Lights.
Ah, very good point, Matt. I would have lost $1,000. $1,000 that Neil just had with me then. So when do I have to pay you, mate?
You stole $1,000 off me a few years ago at a function.
Right.
May not ever forgive you for it.
Easy, Tigers.
Well,
Jamie Whincup has just done the first sector, the fastest time to the first sector, 28.9. Yes, go on.
Well, the way his memory's going today after his green beacon was mere stone. I don't know whether I believe you on the $1,000. I think we might have to work on that.
Fastest sector split for Whincup. See, I just segue off to something else.
Matt just said that.
I know, and the point is that he's responding to his teammate Craig Lowndes. So cockpit adjustment, maybe just settled himself down, or, you know, I heard them on the phone to him just a few minutes ago, maybe just double checking, because you made the observation that Lowndes was starting to harass. Well, now check the gap, because it's opened up on that lap. It started as 0.7, it's now 0.94. So
I think you'll find Lowndes let him go a little bit, Cropper. I mean, there's no use following that closely. I just think that he's just given him a little bit of air. What do you think?
Well, that's the logical thing to do. We should make the point that often, you know, even though these fellows are good friends and, you know, they're working well together and they've teamed up well in the endurance races, they're individual race drivers. Race drivers are business entities in their own right. Another trouble spot here for Todd Kelly after that fabulous run to get him up to 8th. It looks like it might have been harmless enough. He's gathered it back up. He's just in front of Stephen Richards, and Stephen's down in 12th.
That was at turn 4.
So he might have just done that to himself. Here it is again. Let's see what happens.
Yep, too deep. Oh! Now that looked a bit weird. It looked like the car hardly retarded then. Looked very strange. It was a good spin to get it back going again. Hard to get first gear in a sequential box. It's one of the dramas, Crompo. That's good evasive driving. He's done a ripper job not to spear the back of Gisbergen. Got it spun round. But now, because of those crazy motorbike boxes, you can't get first slot.
Yeah, you got to sit there and go whack, 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 and get it all back. Now, Marcus Marshall in the wars, as I reported earlier, had a couple of pit lane penalties, and now that looks like they've got a bigger problem. Keith Evers is taking care of that team into racing, new outfit. There's the repaired Mark Winterbottom car.
Looking at the damage on Winterbottom's car, I don't know if you can see, this is the front splitter that's come off, but more importantly, what he's done is damaged the mount that holds that on. So I can tell you they haven't been able to put the under tray back on square and straight, so that car will not be as quick as it was earlier in the day. Now, if we turn around here, this is David Richards over here, who is actually the team principal. David, we don't really need to reflect on that incident. That was quite obvious. But let's talk about this year to last year. I mean, speed's been there time and time again. You haven't turned into a championship. what have you come out and said to the boys? What needs to change? Because something does.
Well, you know, Tim's well on top of the job here. I've got total confidence in his ability to sort of pull this together this year. You know, it's very early days yet, and a disappointing weekend so far, but a long way to go.
T.R., let me ask you, you follow Formula 1 very closely, I know. A lot of rule changes there. A lot of rule changes here in V8 supercars. What do you view? Are we heading in the right direction?
Well, some of the things, yes. I'm not so sure about the qualifying situation. I don't think that's a very good thing, that you don't qualify badly, you ruin your whole weekend. But just generally, step by step, you inevitably have to make changes year on year, but just got to be very careful with it.
Great to have you as part of the series. Cheers.
So the interesting thing there that David Richards just touched on, this is where you get differing views up and down pit lane, and especially at the end of this race. Mark Winterbottom's now in 23rd. Sure, today's been a bad day. But remember, under the new qualifying rules of 2009, no matter where he finishes today, he's going to start tomorrow in 9th position. On the flip side of that, Todd Kelly motored his way up through the field. He's 11th at the moment. He will start regardless tomorrow in 24th. Zinger replay on the team Vodafone car. As Whincup goes through, watch Craig Lowndes. He's going to go wide here at turn 14. Backed it off. And he knew he was in trouble there, so he backed it right off.
Well, he did a good job because he needed to not flat spot the tyre. What he tried to do was break it as late and get it turned in, but he had to run wide to avoid turning it and trying to stop it at the same time, which would have scorched that right-hand front tyre. On that lap, it cost him almost a full second, that mistake.
What do you think of that qualifying scenario? If I told you at the end of today, and you finished 5th, that you qualified 24th for whatever reason, but tomorrow, after finishing 5th, you're still going to start 24th.
I wouldn't be that happy with you, Matt. I don't think it'd be a great scathe response that you would get from that.
If I told you you finished 24th and you were starting 5th...
yeah, I would be much happier.
See what I'm saying? Jamie Whincup has a 1.9 second advantage. Now 2 second advantage, make that over his teammate Craig Lowndes on lap 61 of 78. Well, we often talk about the heat factor here at the Clipsal 500. And today, mid-30s, but it's been even hotter work for this man, James Courtney. His cool suit, as we know, gave up a long time ago, and he's now parked it in the garage. As soon as he came in, fellas, they got the fans onto him, anything they could to get in there. I don't reckon James is feeling too crash hot.
He's definitely not well.
Too crash hot, unfortunately. But I just also heard Adrian Burgess say, let's just cool him down and try and get back out there at least for the last 5 laps.
Dr. Carl Lee from V8 Supercar was actually in the background also, so he's obviously made his way up to the garage to check on James. It is very tough, and it's one of the toughest races in the country.
He put a massive effort in the off-season into his fitness. He told me that he's been working, I forgot the fellow's name, but it's Jensen Button's former trainer up on the Gold Coast. He's put a bit of muscle bulk on, and he reckons his fitness was up dramatically. But if you close off the ventilation in the car and you've got a cool suit problem, then you know, when you've got the windows wound up effectively and no cool suit, and it's the physical effort that we spoke about before with the length of the race, it's a very tough day.
And the warning bells were ringing there when he came in for an unscheduled pit stop to rip off both windows on the sides of the car there to let some air in. So that's a pretty drastic scenario for James Courtney to undertake. Jason Bargwanna finds himself in the same position inside the garage. So there is 34 degrees at the moment. But inside the cabin, nudging 50.
Which is pretty hard to get a real read on that. It's probably more like 50 or 55. So, you know, for James, that is a very tough gig without that sort of ventilation. And when you know it, that's one of the things mentally, Matt, once you know that it's not working, it tends to have a bigger effect on you from a mental standpoint.
Just be careful here. Jason Richards behind you. He's a bit of a loose cannon. We're looking for points there.
Jace would be interested to hear that, wouldn't he? Let's just get the state of play at the moment. You're looking at positions 7 and 8. Shane Van Gisbergen and Jason Richards. Up ahead of them, Jamie Whincup has the lead by 3.5 seconds over Craig Lowndes. As Stephen Richards comes in to pit lane. He was in on lap 44.
There we go.
He comes back in on 66.
And this is a bit weird. This is the 3rd time today that Stephen's been in. So has he nipped up a tyre and flat spotted a tyre, perhaps?
I think what's happened is they put fuel in early. They've come in now. He's put 4 tyres on it for speed, isn't he? There's no other reason to put 4 tyres on.
Some sort of oil leak or drama here with GT's car, and it's hemorrhaging. I just heard him say something had failed, so...
Engine failed. That's over and out. That is tragic. That's 10 laps from the end. He's done a fantastic job, and now it is over and out.
And he had the pace too. He had the pace. He was matching the guys ahead of him, the 2-team Vodafone cars. Sector for sector, lap for lap. A lot of debris in the front splitter there.
What do you want to do, mate? Press on or
He's just asking what they want to do. Do they want to press on? See whether they can get it to the end. They may not have a choice. They may end up getting a flag, especially if there's any evidence of oil on the road.
Just keep going if we can, mate. Just keep going if we can.
Oh, that's Matt Nielsen talking to Garth.
Engine or gearbox? All right, mate. You tell me.
I'm not the doctor.
I'm the patient.
The danger here is that if it is hemorrhaging oil, you don't need it to arrive on the rear tyres in spots like turn 8. But sense of humour failure there for Garth Tander.
Look, it doesn't look like gearbox. But it would be interesting to be able to hear inside this car.
Matty Nielsen just said stay out, I reckon. And he will do so. What do you got to lose?
Well, that's right. But again, what Neil said before, with that level of smoke coming out of it, I would think that the stewards or someone will say, you have to bring that in.
And look at Lee Holdsworth. So give me a break.
You just say,
Gets the headlights
do you
working.
know where I am? I can't see.
Now, that lap for Garth was a 26.2, so yeah, it's a distraction, and it also looks like it's hurting performance. Holdsworth a 25.2, so he'll round him up, and that's Will Davison in the background.
Now, Lee's going to obviously be the beneficiary here, but as Stephen Richards heads towards the FPR garage.
I think the tyres on there were just a precaution because they had some other issues that they've wheeled her in.
You see Larko there with his thermo gun, and his thermo gun parked at the front of the garage. So
temperature falls.
Will Davison mistake. That could have been on Garth Tander's oil. That's a spin at a spot that you would not normally spin.
All okay, mate. All okay. You still got a gap to Steve Johnson behind.
Yeah, that was the lucky part. Although that gap is now rapidly eroding.
They get a black flag car too for oil. So no surprise.
He's done a good job today, Will. He's kept out of trouble. He probably hasn't had the best car speed, and he's got himself into a situation where he's going to finish up the front.
When you jumped out of that car last year, Will's I'm talking about, did you leave the hazard lights on? Because they're still on.
Oh, very good point, mate. Good pickup.
When he's in here, we need the hazard lights on.
Straight to garage.
Here we go. So that's Garth coming around, and then
there's definitely oil. He's spun on that oil for sure.
He's got the hazards going.
He's had them going for a little while, but I wasn't going to comment on it, to be honest.
Just stay. We'll try and fix it. Looks like I'm moving fitting.
Down here in Richo's garage, hard to get a comment. Everyone's pretty busy here at the moment, but he came in, put a set of tyres on, went back out and came straight back in. They've ripped the front left off, and they're all under there just pulling and pushing at things. I mean, it's that classic circumstance as a driver, I think, where you feel something's not right, something's loose, maybe a bit of pickup, but a lot of people scratching their heads down here at the moment.
Normally, for that sort of thing, it'd be a bad vibration or something. You come in and put some tyres on it to try to fix the vibration.
So he must have reported something then, Larko, that wasn't to his satisfaction, and they're looking around and can't find
Yeah,
the
no doubt about it, Neil. You can sort of see there's pushing and pulling on all sorts of things. There's nothing definitive.
This is the back end of the top 10 of this race. Russell Ingall in 8th. Todd Kelly done an awesome job to fight his way up to 9th after starting 24th.
And having that spin.
With the spin.
Having the spin. And there's Cam McConville. Likewise for Cam, who started at the back of the grid. Now he's top 10. He's position 10 at the moment.
And that took Kelly back to about 15th or something at that point after that spin, and he was in the top 10, and we just commented on how he'd gone very well to recover from yesterday's difficult day. It's all good news for Team Vodafone.
was a good read of yours, Croppo. The change that maybe Jamie made at that point where we said he was holding Craig up has definitely made a difference there. He's a full second faster than Craig on that lap. It's absolute car speed.
Yeah, just in the last sort of half dozen laps, it looks like Craig's car went taily again. It started to get a bit more of an oversteer appearance about it, where Jamie's car has remained very rock solid. It meant, you know, Craig was really hustling him at the beginning of this tyre stint.
And often that happens. You go through a little phase, don't you, where 20 or 30 laps into the race, the tyre degrades to a plateau. James Courtney just coming out now to come and finish the race. Good effort by him to be back out there. Russell Ingall with some damage to the front of the Super Cheap Auto Commodore. But as I said, sometimes those phases change, Matt, where you know that 30 or 40 laps in, all of a sudden the car degrades to some level that's probably a second away from where it was, and that's certainly happened with Craig's car now.
It's a brand new VE for Russell. Out of Paul Morris Motorsport, of course, they like to give their chassis names, not numbers. That one's called Kulwicki, after the late NASCAR champion Alan Kulwicki. So
that's it, the tyres. You see all the damage down the right-hand side of Steve?
Yeah, Stevie Joe's car.
Yeah, that's big damage there. That's the tyres out of the left-hander behind the pits.
It's no surprise to see Stephen Johnson inside the top 10, now inside the top 5. He was on it, on the game straight away. It's a brand new car, as we know out of the 888 Engineering.
That was Mark Warner rejoining there in the background as well.
But Stephen Johnson didn't have a lot of luck in the qualifying session. He ended up starting this race from 14th position. Now he's up there to 5. That's no surprise given the way that his weekend started.
Garth Tander with Leanne there. He's obviously pretty fatigued. This is a very, very tough race. And sitting here is reasonably easy, Matt, in comparison, but it's one of those ones where when you get to that level of this event, you know you've only had 10 laps to go at the end, and you don't finish. It's really bad. I mean, it's tragic. You might as well have a drama at the start, Cropper. You've done the whole event. When you get to the end, it just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's cruel. The business can be terribly cruel like that sometimes. Jason Richards here, 6th position at the moment in the Team BOC entry.
Garth Tander, it's hard work out there, and it's hard to end a day like that.
Yeah, reasonably close to the end too, and sitting pretty in third. And I felt something early, something weird, just after the pit stop. It seemed to go away. It was fine for about 30 laps, and then yeah, about 2 laps to go. I just saw the smoke first, and then the power steer went. So it was a bit dodgy to drive it. If the power steer went all together, would have been able to drive it, but it was coming and going. So the way the speeds are here, and the fact that we'll still start third tomorrow, we're better off having a straight car.
I think the temperature and the conditions today are extreme. Just give us a feel for what it's like inside the car.
I feel fine in the car. It's just sitting there when the boys are trying to diagnose what's going on. When you're sitting there and no airflow, it's pretty torturous. Felt fine in the car. The only thing I had was like my throttle foot was just on fire. It was burning pretty badly, so there were some pretty wicked blisters down there.
See you back tomorrow.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
He will be back. Garth's had pole here. He's finished the event ahead on points here before, but he's never won a race at this circuit. And we saw Leanne Tander there in the garage earlier. Later on in the season, she'll be part of the main game with Wilson Security for the Enduros. Russell into 8th position. Ahead of him, Shane Van Gisbergen. Behind him, Todd Kelly. One headlight working.
That's a great shot, isn't it? That is a great shot through there. It's such a fantastic corner. It's one of the corners in this country that there's not many of today. It's a fast-flowing, ultra-committed corner, and one of the places that obviously you've really got to get right. And as we saw there, late in the race, when you use all the road on the exit, there's marbles that basically catch up against the left-hand wall, and you have to be very careful late in the race not to use too much road on the exit. Easy to give the wall a bit of a bump.
45 years of age, Russell Ingall. Don't say that to make the point that he's the oldest guy in the field. I say it to just show how remarkable his career has been. One of those guys that just manages to keep reinventing himself. And no question at all that when he went to Super Cheap Auto, he got another breath of fresh air.
This is all for position at the moment, this battle between Ingall, Kelly and McConville, 8, 9 and 10. The boxes down the bottom tell you the speed variation, car on car, but Todd looks like he wants to hustle and argue the point here at the moment. Incidentally, of the 3 lead cars at the moment, Lee Holdsworth actually a smidgen quicker than both the Team Vodafone cars, but he's 11 seconds off the lead. And Jason Bargwan has been back out on the racetrack, and I can hear in the background at the moment they're also going to bring him back in. So whatever the issue is with that car, they've not resolved it. Little brake bias adjustment for Jamie Whincup on this lap, just settling that car down. That margin now to his teammate Mark Skate made the observation a few moments ago that it's trended the way that it did in the first stint. Craig was racing at the start of this sequence, and it's down to 6.5 seconds now, that margin. So unless he makes a blue, Jamie's got this neatly stitched up.
Oh, Lowndes! That looks like engine failure. That's a... Was it?
Well, it was all locked up. There's a pile of smoke.
Like there was so much smoke, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Car okay, mate?
No, there's something more.
You probably couldn't hear that at home. The question was from Jeremy Moore, car okay, mate? Answer was no. From Craig Lowndes.
So if something failed in the rear, it would unweight one of the front tyres, which is why the front was locked. But I think something's broken or failed in the rear of the car.
I think that's exactly right. It looked like engine failure, but it looks like oil maybe over the back tyre, Crompo, to do that. That's definitely something very strange.
Looked like a combination of everything on the Zinger replay. He was lucky to get away without heavy damage at the rear. What that does is put Lee Holdsworth into second place.
This is him again. This is turn 11. So it must be. It's got to either something's broken or it's hosing its oil on the rear tyres. The Lowndes will be hating this. And these guys that are going through at the moment, changing positions. Holdsworth is now second. Lowndes plummeting through the field. It's hemorrhaging everywhere. We've seen Tander go out with a power steering drama. Now Lowndes is into the pits.
Definitely oil coming out of the back of it. I mean, Craig Lowndes would never spin twice in one lap.
Okay, Craig, Kevin, I need you and Jamie in bay, mate. Okay, do not try and drive into your bay. We indicate in the second bay.
Davison to third.
Straight in, stay in the car.
Johnson fourth. Jason Richards. The voice of Kevin May on the radio. They'll have a long, hard look at this car.
This is a cruel game, isn't it? You think what just happened with Garth with a power steer failure, and now something with the back of that car so late in the race.
13.4 seconds is the margin for Whincup over Holdsworth, so he can afford to just cruise a bit now.
And let's remember something else, folks, because, you know, we're talking about, oh, you miss out today, you still start okay tomorrow. There's a lot of points on offer here. There's a lot of points on offer for the championship, and they've just evaporated for Craig Lowndes in this race, the first of 26 for the season. The doors open wide for Jamie Whincup. You've got to take your hat off to this young bloke, Lee Holdsworth. Last year, qualified 7th, finished race 1 4th, finished race 2 2nd. Here, he comes back for Gary Rogers Motorsport and continues to do the job that his boss wants him to do.
3 laps to go, mate. 3 laps to go.
And probably do it above expectations. He's not going to catch Whincup. He's 13.8 seconds behind.
He's driving very well, Matt. He's very accurate with the car. He's young, he's fit. He's very, very enthusiastic about making that car as good as it can be. I said earlier that it's quite soft. It's looking after its tyres very well. It's been ultra consistent. Crompo also said just in recent laps it's every bit as fast as as the Vodafone 888 cars have been. So it's a very, very good effort for the day.
What about Will Davison, car 22? Talked to you before about the pressure that young Will's under stepping into your seat. Well, he's headed for a podium finish too. Stephen Johnson 4th, Jason Richards 5th. That's a good fight back for Team BOC. They're all strung out now. 3 full laps remaining.
In the background, I'm picking up some conversation with the Lowndes and his crew, and I think it's a hose. We've got Larko on the spot down there, so we'll just see if we can find out more about it.
Well, you don't get any better experience than Campbell Little, the new technical director for the category. I was happening to standing next to him and we're looking at the back of Lowndes' car. He wiped his finger across the back of it, put it up against his nose and said, power steering oil. That'll do me.
Same deal. Same
Two
as your
power
mate.
steering failures. I mean, it's just unbelievable. What actually happens around him, I had a power steer failure here last year, and you can see Todd Kelly has got past Russell Ingall there for 7th spot, so that's a great job from 24th. But it's very hard on the power steer here, Croppo, because of the curbs, because of the amount of steering corrections. It's very hard on that sort of componentry.
Unusual for it to happen across two teams, only a few laps apart.
Temperature will have a big, a big bearing on those things. Definitely, as the day is hot and the car warms up through the race, those sorts of components get hotter and hotter. I mean, they'd be off their brain in terms of temperature. Should get Larko down there with his thermal gun.
The air temperature at the moment, when I last got data from Dunlop, was 34 degrees and the track was 35. Don't encourage Larko with that gun. Been running around with it all weekend.
In 2004 and 2005 here, Marcus Ambrose was unbeaten on the streets of Adelaide. He won 4 straight races over those 2 years.
One to go, Jamie. One to go, mate. Smooth and consistent, doing a fantastic job. Bring it home, champion.
Jamie Whincup has 3.22 kilometres left to make it 3 straight race victories. The 2 that he had last year and this one here. And Mark Dutton just uttered a word that you'd normally say in passing, but it sticks. Champion. Bring it home, champion. He's defending the title that he won in 2008. Can you imagine a better way to start it for him? Not so much for Team Vodafone on the Lowndes side of the fence, but this man who won 16 races last year has the lights flashing out of turn 7 down towards turn 8. He will not back off. In front of him, the man who he battled for in the championship last year, Mark Winterbottom, out of the loop.
We said earlier, Matt, about whether his approach was going to be intense or it was going to be more relaxed, and you've got to say his intensity is right up there. His air of confidence and his job today is absolutely tremendous.
And he wants to make the point.
Come on, everybody on the wall. Jamie.
There you go, Team Vodafone hurrying the team out there to get him on the wall to salute this man who will start the season with a victory.
Great job.
The crowd gets up. They applaud a terrific effort.
Great work.
Catch me if you can, says Jamie Whincup. And here comes Lee Holdsworth. Some 15 seconds behind. Make that 14.
Bloody great job. Looks like not many people got a reliable car. Thanks for giving me one.
And that is a victory too for reliability for Lee. Will Davison begins his career at the Toll Holden Racing Team with a podium finish. Stevie Johnson fights his way up to 4th. Jason Richards crosses the line in 5th for Team BOC.
Murphy, I'm coming for him. Down here with Gary Rogers, a happy team owner. A little bit of bling you got there. Very nice, Gary. The highs and lows of the Clipsal, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we copped the lows at the start with Caruso. And Murphy, you should know better, and I'm going to get you, certainly.
Okay, thanks for that, mate. Well done.
So, Gary Rogers has one Greg Murphy in the crosshairs. Should be an interesting stoush, that one. The forward flags fly high. Another tremendous crowd here. Jamie Whincup claims another race victory, Holdsworth and Davison. So that's our provisional podium. Shane Van Gisbergen inside the top 6. And you've got to really give kudos to Todd Kelly, who muscled his way through the field. And what about Cam McConville, finished 9th after starting last. There's positions 11 to 20. We'll check on the condition of James Courtney. And a lot of guys did not finish, as is the way with the streets of Adelaide. So the season's underway. It's been a good start, but that's only halfway for the Clipsal 500. Well, Team Vodafone got the best and worst out of Saturday race day here at Clipsal. Craig Lowndes had late troubles, but Jamie Whincup was again untouchable. 24 career race wins now. More importantly, 150 championship points. That's the podium. Holdsworth and Davison on the minor steps. Todd Kelly, clearly the highlight in there, along with Cameron McConville. Todd started from position 24 and Cam started from the very back of the grid. So let's go to the podium now with Mark Beretta.
Magnificent conditions here at the Clipsal 500 race 1, and to make the presentation to third place, would you please welcome Roger Cook, the chairman of the South Australian Motorsport Board. In third place for the Toll Holden Racing Team, Will Davison. Will, congratulations. Welcome to the Holden Racing Team.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, I should be saying down there. That was awesome. I had a worse start, and I think I dropped back to about 15th. And, you know, we had a great car, consistent car, and, you know, the fuel strategy there, we gained some positions. So I have to thank the guys down there. And, yeah, I'm new to Holden, but here we go. Woohoo!
Enjoy the podium. Congratulations, Will. Roger Cook making the presentation. To present second place, the General Manager, Sales and Commercial for Clipsal Australia, our major sponsor, David McGarry. And our runner-up today, from Gary Rogers Motorsport, Lee Holdsworth. Lee, congratulations. Hard work, but a great way to start the year.
Oh, it is. It's fantastic. I want to thank my boys first, GRM guys. Not too many people had a reliable car out there, but we always put one together, and yeah, credit to them. But our sponsors, Valvoline, Cummins and Holden, thanks very much for the continuing support, and well done to Will and Jamie on a great race. And I'll say thanks to my fiancée as well, Alana.
A good move. Well done, Lee. Enjoy the podium. And as Lee Holdsworth takes his place to present first place in race 1 of the Clipsal 500 for 2009, the Honourable Kevin Foley, Deputy Premier and Minister for Motorsport for South Australia. He's picked up where he left off from Team Vodafone. First place, Clipsal 500 for 2009, race 1, Jamie Whincup. Jamie, congratulations. The perfect way to start a championship defence.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. You know, obviously with a new car, we were a bit unsure about our pace coming into the weekend, but you know, what a hard 3 months we've been working for, and fantastic to get a result. But guys, keep it under wraps. Let's get out there tomorrow and try to repeat.
Well done. Congratulations, Jamie. Enjoy it. First, second and third, Jamie Whincup, Lee Holdsworth and Will Davison. The Clipsal 500 race 1.
No letting up now for Jamie Whincup. That was the message that he wanted to make clear there in accepting the race 1 winner's trophy. Let's get back here and do it tomorrow was his advice to the team. He's thinking like a series champion who's defending the title. The last part of the day was the hottest part of the day, and that's where it all started to unfold for quite a few guys. Only 3 guys who started inside the top 10 finished in the top 10. Can you believe that? They were Jamie Whincup, Will Davison and Jason Richards. So Jamie starts the season with 150 championship points. But another 250 Ks to go on Sunday, another 78 laps ahead of us. What a start to the season.